What is going on, guys? The Rose here with my co-host Cypher. We are back for the Game Corner Podcast, episode 15, where today we have some news on more details shared about Call of Duty Black Ops 4. We have some news on a new Xbox One accessibility controller. We also have some information on Monolith Soft. They're recruiting staff for an action game. So that's interesting. We have Platinum Games. They are developing games. A few unannounced titles, including an action game. We have Koei Tecmo talking about wanting to make a Star Wars and Super Mario Musou style games. And we also have the newest character for Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. All that and more right here on the Game Corner Podcast. So,
our intro noise should be me pouring myself some whiskey today. But, yeah, so what's up?
I don't know how you've been feeling for the past couple of weeks, but I've been busy as a son of a bitch.
I've been different degrees of busy and stuff myself, so what's been happening with you?
I mean, I talked about on episode 14 that I did by myself and uploaded.
Mm-hmm.
To catch up on the past 2 weeks worth of news that I missed or that we missed. I mentioned seeing Kevin Smith on May 5th. That was pretty cool. Just been going out, having things to do, shit to take care of, personal stuff. It's been raining a lot here. Internet's been cutting in and out more frequently. I haven't seen the sunshine or a blue sky in 3 days.
Good lord.
And this rain pattern's not supposed to cut out until Monday.
Yeah, that's pretty dreary.
Yeah, it sucks. It's making me feel lethargic. I'm more tired and whatnot. I don't know if the weather, how it looks outside, I don't know if that affects you at all. But
not really.
It's just like when it's gloomy out and it's fucking raining and it looks depressing outside. I don't know, it just makes me feel kind of lazy and like I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, that's how most people are.
But Tuesday, I bought it Wednesday. I bought an indie game made by Aquarius Studios. It's called Horizon Chase Turbo. It's a retro-style racing game in the vein of games like Pole Position, Rad Racer, the Top Gear series, and the Cruisin' series on the N64 from the 90s.
Man, I love Cruisin'.
Those were some of my favorite racing games back in the day. And so they made this game in that style. And it's in a smooth 60 frames per second. And it's just one of those games where, blistering down the track and speeding around corners at 150 miles an hour never felt so good.
Mm-hmm.
I have enjoyed this game. It has given me the nostalgia blast I knew it would. And it's an indie game at a bit of a beefy price. It was $20. But they packed enough playability into this game that I almost feel like it warrants the price. There's 109 racetracks in this game, 26 cars, and you only start with, I think, 2 of them unlocked.
Okay.
There's 48 locations across the world in this game. So you'll play, there's 2 areas in the United States you'll race through. Then there's areas like China, Japan, India, and then each continent that you race on has 4 racing locations, with a set number of racetracks. Some locations have 3, some locations only have 1, some locations have 2. I thought it was a really good game, and then after you beat the World Tour, then you have to play the tournaments, and the tournaments are 4 race sets. And then after you beat all 3 tiers of the tournaments, then you have endurance races. And there's one endurance race in the game where you have to play through all 109 racetracks in one sitting.
Jesus Christ.
There's probably a good 20 to 25 hours worth of gameplay in this indie title for what it is. For $20, I think it almost warrants the price, to be honest. I have not played a different game since I downloaded this one.
Man, that's a lot of hours for an indie game.
Yeah.
Like, I think the only indie game that I own that I've gotten that many hours out of is Celeste, and that's because firstly, I'm a completionist, and secondly, that game is hard as fuck.
I think the only other indie game I've played so much was Rocket League, because I've sunk more than 25 hours into that easily. But, so I'm going to make Horizon Chase Turbo my next written game review. That's going to be coming out probably this weekend at some point. You had mentioned a game that you were playing recently.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go through why I haven't been around for a while. So, I got really busy a couple of weeks ago. Mostly with life stuff, but some of it was work. And then, so I actually got fired from my publication company job, which is hilarious because I just got rehired yesterday after pointing out a bunch of mistakes and a bunch of the stuff that they've put out recently. Then last Sunday, I actually, seriously injured myself. So, my roommate and I went out to the university that we attend. Well, I attend, he used to attend. And so we're walking along the sidewalk, and there's, an open patch of sidewalk. It's not properly paved over, almost like there's a hole in it.
Oh, shit.
So I'm not watching where I'm going because I'm having a conversation with him, and I fucking fall into this hole. Now, it's not super deep, but it's deep enough that, falling into it caused me to trip. So I ended up spraining my ankle and my elbow to the point where, for the rest, until, Tuesday, I couldn't walk properly.
That's fucked up.
I couldn't walk properly at all. Monday, I couldn't, Sunday, when it happened, I couldn't really stand up, and then Monday, Monday it was slightly better, but I still had, a noticeable limp. So I'm finally better today. Yesterday was the first day I was able to, walk properly, and today I'm fine. And, as for my arm, I wasn't able to bend it. You know how you can kind of flex your arm and touch your shoulder? I still can't do that. I'm almost there, but I can't bend my elbow all the way.
Well, I mean, at least it's healing on its own without medication or, any kind of doctor's visits or anything like that.
Yeah, because my big concern was, if this keeps going, I'm gonna have to go see a doctor. And, I don't have medical coverage. I got it renewed on Monday. Because all I had to do was call in and be like, hey, you guys sent it to the wrong address. Do something about that. So in 4 to 6 weeks, I'm going to have medical coverage again.
That's good.
And they were like, if you need to go see a doctor, just tell them that you'll have it in 4 to 6 weeks, and they'll provide it to them then. Which is good. Because if I needed to go to a doctor, I would have been able to. But, so my original plan was, if the swelling doesn't go down by Thursday, so yesterday, I'm going to go see a doctor. And it's the swelling has gone down significantly, and I'm almost better. So it's unless it gets worse, or unless it persists beyond, next week, if not this Sunday, but, next Sunday goes by, and I'm still having a bit of pain whenever I put weight on my foot, or if I'm still unable to bend my arm all the way back, then I'll go see a doctor and just hey, I had this sprain, I don't think it healed properly. What do I do? But, so yeah, it was funny, because, I messaged everybody, and I was like, hey, listen, I think I might have broken or dislocated something, I'm gonna be gone for a while. And then, of course, the next day I was, able to type and was fine, and was like, okay, well, never mind.
Yeah,
but,
right.
So that was kind of embarrassing, but anyway. So this past weekend, I tried the open beta for BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle.
Excuse me.
is an Arc System Works developed fighting game. So naturally, I was all over that shit. It features 20 characters from BlazBlue, Under Night in Birth, Persona 4, Arena, and I believe the last one is Rooster Teeth's animated series Ruby. That game is I put an article out on Jotaku. I don't know if it's been published yet, but the long and the short of it is that game is a fucking train wreck. It is undeniably fun to play. Like, it is fun to play. It is not a good fighting game. And the reason I say that is because I don't want to sound like one of those people who's like super toxic about casual players, but this game was made for casual players. Like, it was made to be accessible to everybody, and it was, in practice, it's accessible to nobody.
So was it made in the same vein as Fighters was?
No, it's worse.
Oh, God.
Every character has 2 auto combos. But those are really the only combos that they can perform. There's a serious focus on tagging your partner in and out. So there's no, when you switch to your partner, there's no assist gauge. You can just kind of switch in and out freely. But you can't have them come in and do their assist attack, because there's a specific gauge for that. But the thing is, the problem with this game is that it's too simplistic. Like, it's very simplistic on the surface, but then if you try to penetrate it to get any deeper, like, if you try to really look into, like, the tag team mechanics and stuff, the tutorials do a good job of explaining how that works, but they don't do a good job of teaching you how it works. Like, they'll tell you, okay, well, these 2 buttons will allow you to do this. Like, if you press the tag in button and another button on top of that, like, you can do this stuff. But it's like, that's all well and good, but it doesn't stick with you when you go into versus mode and you try it out for yourself, which is really irritating. And then, like, the way I described this game was, like, the perfect example if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because, like, DBZ's fucking amazing. DBZ's really good. Like, I complained about some of the accessibility features in DBZ, but realistically speaking, once you get into high-level play for DBZ, that doesn't matter. With Ruby, it's like, or sorry, with Cross Tag, it's like, I think it's a problem with the system being too simple and being too difficult to penetrate at the same time. Like, there's no consistency in how characters control. Like, so I've played all of the games that this one is made up of, right?
Right.
And it's weird to me that to make the controls more accessible to people, they changed all of the button inputs for all of the characters. Like, now every character only has, they have 3 attack buttons, but in reality they only have like 2. Because what happens is, like, you have your light and your medium, and then you have what's called a clash button, and that's kind of like, I don't know how to even describe it. But then you also have, like, your tag in, like, your switch button and your assist button. So it's not like Dragon Ball FighterZ where you have 4 buttons, and it's not like Persona 4 Arena where you have 4 buttons, and it's not like BlazBlue where you have, guess what, 4 fucking buttons. The only game that is in this that, like, of its different series that has 3 buttons is Under Night in Birth, and the 4th button is like a dash, like it's like a command dash. So that's really irritating. And then it's like, because the problem with them changing all the inputs and homogenizing this roster is that you have guys like me who have been playing BlazBlue for like 11 years now. Like, I started playing BlazBlue back when I was like 9 years old. Actually, when did the first one come out in the West? So if I had to guess,
I think it was like 2009, 2008.
I thought it was 2007. Jesus. So the first one was 2008. So I would assume that 2009 was when it got its first Western release. So I've been playing BlazBlue for almost 10 years now, and I've played every installment of BlazBlue. Like, at least one of the games per series, because they do the Capcom thing where they make like an updated re-release of one of the games.
Right. Yep.
every so often, but like, so I've played at least one version of each of the main 4 games, and none of the button inputs have really changed in the past, in the past 9 years. So it's like, how the fuck? It's weird playing a character and going, okay, well, if I do this button input, this is the attack I'm going to get out of it, but it's not. On the other hand, though, because a lot of people are going to complain that this game is comprised of asset flips. I don't think that's really the issue. I think the issue is that it's old assets with new assets as well. Because if you look at, and I mentioned this in my review too, that if you take a look at Ruby Rose from Ruby, that's a brand new hand-drawn sprite. And then if you take a look at Ragnar the Blood Edge, which is a character design from 2009, and at its most recent, it's a year old, and at its it could be 1 year old, it could be 3 years old, or it could be it could be the whole 9 years, depending on which game they lifted it from. So there's definitely a difference in age. Even the characters from Under Night and Birth, where it's like they redrew every sprite and every frame of animation to match kind of the BlazBlue style. Even those characters look better than the BlazBlue characters.
Wow.
So during the beta, all 20... I'm sorry, I'm eating right now as well, but during the beta, all 20 characters were available. And I think of the 20, there's 11 from BlazBlue. That's ridiculous. The problem that I had with this was that, just give me a second, I want to actually get the numbers on that. The problem that I had with that was that, there's 2 characters from Ruby. Not all 4 of the main girls from Ruby are in it.
Well, that's kind of dumb.
It's fucking stupid, right? There's 4 characters from Under Night and Birth, and there's 4 characters from Persona. And there's 2 characters from Ruby. So that's 10 characters for BlazBlue. Half of the roster is BlazBlue characters.
I mean, I guess in a way that makes sense because it's a BlazBlue title.
That's true. I think BlazBlue's the only one that ArcSys fully owns, because Persona 4 is owned by Atlas.
Right. And
Under Night and Birth is owned by French Bread, and Ruby is owned by Rooster Teeth.
Right, but I think at least all 4 Ruby characters should have been in the game.
It's mitigated a little bit by the fact that the other 2 Ruby characters that aren't in it are DLC. They're free DLC. But it's still kind of annoying that it's we put in 10 BlazBlue characters that we didn't really need, but then we put in 4 characters for the other 2 series and then 2 from Ruby. That's kind of bothersome to me.
Ruby got the shit into the stick.
Well, Ruby got shafted, and so did Persona, because Persona has 4 characters from Persona 4, but in the Persona 4 fighting game, there's characters from Persona 3 as well.
Right.
And there's no characters from Persona 3 in the Persona 4 lineup at launch. I'm looking at the DLC list now, and for the announced characters, because apparently there were some leaks the other day, but on the Wikipedia page, there's a 3 per series, except for Ruby, where it's the other 2 characters that are missing from their roster. And there's only 1 character from Persona 3 in the Persona 4 roster. That's bullshit.
And I'm sure the other characters, probably Chie is one of them.
Chie is one of them now.
She's one of the most popular. I would think maybe Yusuke is one of them.
Yeah, it's Yusuke, Yuna Arakami, Chie, and Yukiko.
Oh, okay.
Are the main 4 that are in it.
So, well, I mean, do you check out his review when it goes live? He already mentioned Jotaku.net. I will be writing my Horizon Chase Turbo review for the site. Let's see if it gets accepted. So check that out for our reviews, this weekend. Also follow me on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I haven't really done anything on Twitch in the past month, but I'll be looking to change that. I might stream tonight. If the internet holds up, that is. Follow Black Sakura on Facebook, and follow Erin Fitzgerald as well. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. As always, all of the links and information you need is always down in the description box below. So check all that out. And with that being said, let's kick in the intro and get to it. So out of the seven articles, I want to save the Neptunia one for last.
Okay.
Because I have a post on Facebook on our fan page, and I'm letting fans right now like voice their opinions on the first Neptunia game to reach Nintendo. So I thought that I'll include a few of their comments, in our discussion.
Makes sense.
So I figure I'll save that for last, give them as much time as possible to get their comments in. And so with that being said, you went and summarized everything down. So where do you want to start? Where do you want to start?
I guess we'll start with the first one, which is the accessibility Xbox, like the Xbox accessibility controller.
All right.
So recently, Microsoft revealed that they were working on what they call the Xbox adaptive controller. And if you look at it, it looks kind of like a blockier version of like the Super Nintendo controller, because the D-pad and all of the buttons are on the left side, and then you have these, instead of like having proper buttons, you have these giant programmable things that are like they'll function as whatever button you program them as. So I'd be curious as to whether it's like if I pressed like up on this button, it'll be like A or whatever. Or if I press down on it, it'll be whatever I want. So like I'm curious as to whether it's kind of pressure sensitive, like or like whatever a D-pad is, kind of like that, where it's like a pivot. But anyway, so the only thing that I really gleaned from this, other than what it is and that it's programmable, is that it's $100
Jesus.
Now, because of that, when I was researching this stuff, I looked at Best Buy's prices on normal Xbox One controllers, and they're $59.99 US.
Right, so they did go down a bit. They used to be $65.
Like, I can kind of understand why, because it's like, the stuff they put into this probably costs them more to make. Because the controller's like programmable, and there's a lot of different stuff that's gone into it, but like the fact that it costs almost twice as much as a standard Xbox controller, that kind of bothers me a little bit, given that it's for accessibility purposes.
And it looks like it's got a headphone jack on the side of it. There's another jack on the side too. I don't know what that one would be for. A couple of them are USBs, and one of them is is to connect it to your Xbox for a wired connection. Oh, I see, because there's stuff in the back of it too. Okay. So they have a video here, which of course we won't be showing because of copyright reasons, showing how the controller will be functioned. Now, there's some information on it here. It's they give an original story behind this controller, and apparently it was leaked. They're probably going to show this at E3. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So you went and summarized this, so go ahead and tell us all about it. What is it?
Well, I already kind of did. Like that's really the only points that I had from the story was that like it's $100. It's the two big black buttons are programmable, and it kind of reminds me of the SNES controller. Like, I don't know why. I think it's just the shape and the way that the buttons are laid out. But it's like, or like even the old NES controller, because it's very blocky and like the main buttons are on the left, and then you have the actual like functions on the right. But it upsets me a little bit that it cost us that much, even though I can understand why. And it kind of like, are there other first-party like accessibility controllers out there? I don't think there are.
I don't think so either. No.
So I think that this is definitely a step in the right direction, and I certainly hope that within the next, I hope that they reconsider the price, because I don't need one, and I'm not going to buy one. But it's like, for people who do need it, you shouldn't have to spend an arm and a leg more than someone who doesn't have a disability.
I would think maybe $80 would be more of a fair price for this.
Definitely. I mean, that's still 100 Canadian, but like, yeah, I agree. Like, why not just price it at whatever a Switch? How much are Joy-Cons in America? Because they're $90 Canadian.
It's $50 for one and $80 for both.
Well, if that's the case, then I think $80 would be a fair price for that, US. So keeping on the Microsoft train, so Halo is getting an arcade game.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in this, actually.
I love light gun shooters, so I think this is super neat. Because apparently it's developed by Raw Thrills. Now, if you don't know who Raw Thrills are, they broke away from Midway back when Midway went bankrupt. And they developed the more recent Cruisin' games because they're headed by the guy who made that series. And they also made, if you've ever been to a movie theater and played Jurassic Park, the arcade game, they made that as well.
Yeah, they make good arcade games.
They make really good arcade games. So apparently it's a 4-player light gun shooter that tells the story of an ODST squad during Combat Evolved. And that, so apparently it's also co-developed by 343 and Play Mechanic, which, I gotta be honest, I'm not really up on those developers, but there's no video footage of this yet. It's just a screenshot, but it looks really good. Like, I really enjoy light gun shooters, so I think that if I get an opportunity to play this, I will definitely try it.
And then making this sound like, obviously it's only going to be like an arcade machine, so I highly doubt this is going to come to an actual console.
No, probably not.
And it really that's kind of sad because there's really no arcades, at least where I live, anymore.
Same here.
I mean, there are a few, but I don't know exactly if they'll pick this up. I mean, I hope they do. That'd be pretty neat. I'm not a Halo fan, but I'd certainly give this a shot.
Yeah, like, I definitely try it once just to see what it plays like.
And, Raw Thrills, they make pretty good arcade games. I have played a handful of them, in my day in the past. But,
I think Raw Thrills is, like, one of the more successful arcade companies nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, when I go to the movie theaters, and I see an arcade machine, if I have a handful of quarters on me, I'll give one a shot. For old time's sake, but it's just sad that, arcades are nowhere near as big as they used to be,
Yeah.
outside of Japan. Because I know in Japan, I think they're still everywhere.
In Japan, it's... I don't know if you've ever seen videos of, like, guys going to Japan and walking into arcades, but Japanese arcades are fucking cool. Like, they have these Gundam arcade games where it's like it's basically like a competitive thing where you swipe in or whatever, and it's like the cockpit moves with you. It's fucking crazy.
Oh shit, that's cool as hell.
It's weird to me though, because like I've been in, I don't know if I told you this, but when I was younger, I flew down to the States and went to an aviation camp, and they put us in military grade simulators, and like those move, and that's fucking crazy. Like it feels weird. So like the fact that Japan is doing that for arcade purposes is like pretty fucking awesome, but also a little strange, because it's like I'd be curious as to how many people get motion sickness just playing the Gundam arcade game that does that.
I mean, I'm sure they have warnings on it, right?
Oh, I'm almost certain that they do. So I'm just gonna Google that real quick. What is the Gundam arcade game moves? I don't think it's I don't know if it's one of the Gundam verses. It might be Senjo no Kizuna. Yeah, I think it's Bonds of the Battlefield, but I don't think it moves when you do. I just think that's the one that you have to swipe into. Oh no, that's the one with it's got a panoramic optical display. And it's like an online arcade machine. That's pretty cool. But anyway,
so the next thing
we have on the docket
is the Dissidia Final Fantasy, the newest character revealed.
Yeah. So Locke Cole from Final Fantasy VI is going to be DLC for Dissidia. And I don't believe there's a release date in this article. I'd have to go back and look. But I know that personally, I'm pretty excited for this. Like, I watched the trailer for it, and I think that his design kind of looks like shit in 3D. Like, it looks really bad, even though it's the same design that he had in Final Fantasy VI. And that there are other characters from Final Fantasy VI that would have been better suited to this game. Like Edward or Sabin. Could you imagine fucking suplexing somebody as Sabin? That'd be fucking awesome.
That'd be great.
But, like, his alternate costumes look really good. Arguably better than his main design. And watching the trailer, his character seems to be very speed-focused, and I really like that. Like, he's He seems to have a lot of potential for like combos and wall rushing that I think we're kind of missing from Dissidia as a whole. It says here that he will arrive in the arcade version on May 17th and on consoles in late June of this year.
So probably about a month, maybe 5 weeks from now.
Yeah. It does kind of bother me, though, that Dissidia characters take so long to launch. Because in the time that it's going to take them to release 2 DLC characters, Dragon Ball FighterZ is going to have released 4, and Dragon Ball FighterZ is a much more complex, much better fighting game.
Right.
I think the only difference that FighterZ has that Final Fantasy does not, and the only reason why that it would take this long is because FighterZ is on a 2D plane and Dissidia isn't. But anyway, I'll try him. Like, I haven't tried the other DLC character yet because I haven't touched Dissidia because it's just such a fucking train wreck. But like, I don't even know if they patched it. Like, I haven't kept up with it because I just don't give enough fucks. But I'll definitely give him a try. And it says the next character is going to be from the latter half of Final Fantasy, like the newer half. So
yeah, it gives clues on the next characters.
Yeah, it's going to be a woman from the latter half of Final Fantasy, so part of me hopes that it's like... So I can't think of any characters that I would really want, to be honest.
Well, moving on from this to another big-name developer, Platinum Games is working on some titles, including an anticipated action game.
Yeah, so they didn't really, in the panel, they didn't discuss what they were working on too much, but Atsushi Inaba and Hideki Kamiya were at this panel, and they were talking about their favorite games. So Inaba claimed that he likes stuff that's really story-focused, and Kamiya was like, oh, I like anything. But later on in the panel, Kamiya claimed that he had a huge hard-on for Castlevania because of how good it looked and how well it played. So the main takeaway that I got from this is that Inaba... From what Hideki Kamiya and Atsushi Inaba said, it seems like they're going to be making a Switch game at some point in the near future because Inaba expressed some serious interest. And I'm hoping that it's going to be something paired up with Konami where it's like, we're going to make a Castlevania game. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Now, do you think they're working on Bayonetta 3 already? Because I'm pretty sure that was sort of announced.
That's probably one of their projects, because they said they have a bunch on the go right now, and then it's hard for them to keep track of their budget.
I'm interested in whatever Platinum does. They have made some pretty good games in the past. I'm definitely looking forward to Bayonetta 3 whenever that comes out.
Yeah.
And
I wish they would re-release Wonderful 101 on Switch.
I heard there's actually fans that are wanting it on the Switch, so that it may happen.
I don't know how that would work in terms of control, but I'd definitely like to see it.
So do you think anything that they may be keeping under wraps right now, do you think we see anything from them at E3 in 3 weeks?
We might, but I don't think it'll be anything more than like, oh, here's a trailer for it. Like, I don't think they'll release any gameplay trailers. I think it'll just be like teasers and stuff.
Because I think with all of the leaks that's happened over the past week or so now, for E3, I think they're trying like really hard right now to keep their projects, secret enough. So I guess because if they're going to show anything at E3, they actually want it to be a surprise.
Yeah.
Because around this time of year, you always see these leaks and so many fucking rumors about this game, this console, that console, And I try to avoid the leaks, and I don't really want to cover any of them all too much.
Yeah.
Because E3 is right around the corner, and I'd rather be more surprised than anything. Now, whatever.
Yeah, it's like, I don't keep up with this kind of stuff because it's like, well, I'm gonna keep up with this kind of stuff because when E3 drops, I'll either be disappointed that certain things weren't discussed, or I find rumors can often be misleading even when they're true.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm going to try to keep myself in the dark and wait for E3.
Yeah, that's what I try to do every year. Like, I hear about the rumors, I'll read about them, but I just, I'll just like, yeah, whatever, push them off to the side. you know, and then I'll wait for E3 to see what was actually real and
Yeah.
you know, what wasn't. But whatever Platinum's got going on, you know, I hope they're making some pretty good games. And if there's anything I'm interested in, I'll definitely give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly something I'm interested in is Koei Tecmo wanting to make Super Mario and Star Wars Musou style games.
Yeah, so apparently in an interview in January, Koei president Hisashi Koinuma claimed that he would be excited to work with the Star Wars and Super Mario IPs. Now, for Star Wars, he made a follow-up statement where it's like, oh, I don't want to work on Musou specifically, I just want to work with the IP for Star Wars. But, with Mario, he said that it's because of all of, like, the versatility and all the experience that he's had playing Mario since he was a kid. I'm actually going to get the exact statement because I don't have the quote. It says here, regarding Super Mario Brothers, Koinuma said that his fascination came from a childhood of growing up with Mario games. Once again, anything will be in the cards for a potential Mario game, even a simulation like Nobunaga's Ambition. If I'm honest with you, if based on the properties that Koei Tecmo currently has, if they somehow pull a miracle and get the Star Wars license and make some Star Wars games, I would honestly hope that they would be more in the vein of like Ninja Gaiden.
Right? Ninja Gaiden was so
like
good.
A fucking character action game with proper... The thing about lightsaber combat that has always bothered me is that, like, lightsabers are supposed to fucking kill you when they connect because they're plasma.
Right.
They cut through you.
Yep.
Right? That's why, like, Star Wars Jedi Academy and Jedi Knight and Dark... I don't think Dark Forces has lightsaber combat, but there's, like, a code in it that gives you, like, real lightsaber combat where if you get hit once, you're dead. But if you hit a guy with your lightsaber, he's dead. Like, it's fucking good. But, like, I think Star Wars Musou could work on some level. I just don't see how they would differentiate the characters too much.
Right. I just don't see it being workable at all for Mario.
No. And for Mario, I don't think it's workable. Like, Mario has... What? Like, there's really... You could take some stuff from Paper Mario and from the RPGs, but, like, realistically speaking...
There's not
Mario
much to
doesn't...
work with.
Mario jumps to attack. Like, you don't... him punching people or him using the hammer for his normal attacks would be kind of weird.
I mean, outside of Smash Bros. Anyways.
Well, yeah, outside of Smash Bros. But, like... I don't know how a Mario game would work with any of Koei Tecmo's properties. Like, what does Koei Tecmo own besides Nobunaga's Ambition, Ninja Gaiden, and Warriors?
They have...
Because, like, Nobunaga's Ambition could work, but it's like you'd have to do, like, a lot of shit with it.
They have the DOA series, too, I believe.
Yeah, they do. They also have Atelier. I didn't realize that they published them. But, anyway... The only... So actually, I've come to a different realization. If you made Star Wars, but you made it in the vein of Nioh, or, like, Ninja Gaiden would be great, but Nioh would be fucking way cooler. That would be pretty neat. Where it's like... I don't know, I think that Nioh works way better because it's like, oh, you've died. Like, it's super easy to die in Nioh when you make a single mistake.
Right? Yeah.
Same with Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
But, like, Nioh has a stamina system, so you could replace that with, like, stamina, and then you could have, like, a force meter. Like, kind of like how Dark Souls 3 has, like, a magic meter.
I just hope whatever they do, it's good. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a Zelda fan, and I played Hyrule Warriors just because of the type of game it is. And... You know, I've played Fire Emblem Warriors, and I'm not a huge Fire Emblem fan, but I've been getting more into the series.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely enjoy those games. If they do make a Star Wars kind of Warriors-like game, I'll probably play it.
Fuck.
But I don't see Super Mario being a good idea for a Musou game. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pokemon would be better suited for Musou, and even I don't think that would work very well.
I think Pokemon would work very well, but you'd have to have, like... I think it would end up taking too much from Fire Emblem Warriors, where it's like, oh, switch to a type that's super effective against this other Pokemon, and it's like, that seems like a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Like, I find that those mechanics were too shallow and repetitive in Fire Emblem, so I don't think they'd really work all that well.
I mean, I would... if they somehow figured something out. I mean, I would think Mario's main attack in a Super Mario Musou game would be his fireballs, to be honest. Or maybe because he did have in the new Super Mario's Wii and Wii U versions. I know he had the ice flower too, where he shot ice balls too. And in Super Mario World, and he used the cape. He was able to use his cape to hit enemies too. I just don't think it's enough to make a worthwhile Musou game. And
no,
out of all the IPs Nintendo has, Mario's going to be the hardest one for them to get.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen.
No, certainly not. I don't think Star Wars is going to happen either, honestly. Like, EA might be a little bit on the outs with Disney, but it's like, I somehow highly doubt that after, like, even if by some miracle EA got stripped of the Star Wars license, I think Disney would be very reluctant to hand it over to anybody.
Especially Koei Tecmo, because when it comes to their games, they kind of make their games more on the cheaper side, too.
Yeah.
And
it's like
Disney puts a lot of money into what they do. So
yeah, exactly.
I don't think these games are going to happen. But if it does, I would think Star Wars is a lot more likely to happen than Mario.
Yeah, I'd say Star Wars is more likely, but it's still not very likely. If that makes sense.
Right. So another studio out there making an action game, Monolith Software. They are currently recruiting staff to work on an action game that they're making.
Yeah, so it's all the basic positions that you would expect from gaming, like animators, art designers, animators, character designers, level designers, all that kind of programmers, all that kind of stuff. But they're looking for people with action experience specifically, and they've claimed that it's different from their brand image. So, like, for those of you who might be listening who don't know, Monolith Soft made Xenoblade Chronicles, and that's kind of what they're famous for, is like the Xeno series of Xenogears, Xenosaga, and Xenoblade. So, honestly, I would like to, because I know it's going to be different from their brand image, so that means it's probably not going to be one of those games in that series, but I would like to see them I would like to see them make a Xeno game that's just pure action.
Now, do you think this would be more of like a hack and slash kind of action game, or would it be more of like an action exploration game where you have like combat? You could have your combat and you have some exploration, and you might have like a chase scene or something.
Yeah. Like, given their track record so far, I would say that it's probably going to be action and exploration. Because the thing that Monolith does very well is they make very large environments that you want to explore. Like, all of their games after Xenosaga have been jam-packed with so much stuff that I know people who put like hundreds of hours into Xenoblade 1, like Xenoblade Chronicles, and they still haven't finished it. Like, they still haven't seen everything the game has to offer.
That's a lot of hours.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's like, I personally kind of hope that the action side of this is closer to like what Platinum Games does, where it's based on a combo system instead of more of like a hack and slash formula. But I don't know. And it's too early to tell, but I know what I want. I just don't know how realistic it is to get.
Right. And, part of some of these positions, they're hiring for like character control programmers, event planners, map planners, concept art designers, map modelers, in-game animators. Yeah. It's all stuff like you said you would expect. It sounds like they're not too far in development with this game, given the fact that they're looking to hire for almost every position.
Yeah.
But this is something. Well, I'm sure we'll hear more about in the coming months. We'll probably hear more about it closer towards the end of the year, maybe Tokyo Game Show in September. They might have something more to show about it, maybe a name. But as of right now, there's very little known about it, and, whatever it is, hopefully they have some success. So that just brings us to the last thing for today. Brave Neptunia, now being called Super Neptunia RPG. It's being released this fall in the West for the PS4, and for the first time ever for Idea Factory International and Compile Heart. Being released on a Nintendo console.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. So it says that there will be 2 voice tracks, English and Japanese, but French subtitles will be an option for European and North American markets. It also says that there will be physical and digital releases of the game. And from what I've gathered, the story seems to be kind of a reboot where it's set in a world where 2D and 3D kind of clash with each other, which is kind of neat because I think that really does speak to what the gaming industry is now. And that's one thing I think I love Neptunia, but I think that the thing it does best is its writing's really good, but to be more specific, its parody of the game industry is really good.
Exactly. That's the main reason I've loved the series, because it takes what's going on in the industry, even a little bit of the past they've written about, and they make it, they tell it accurately, but in their own style.
Yeah, definitely. So apparently characters are hand-drawn, and battles will be turn-based, but all of the other action will be side-scrolling. So that kind of makes me think of Valkyrie Profile a little bit.
Right.
Which, if it's in the vein of Valkyrie Profile, sign me the fuck up.
Oh, dude.
Valkyrie Profile's awesome.
And you've known that I've been playing on and off another game called Exist Archive.
Yeah, it's kind of the spiritual successor, right?
Yeah, and that's also in the 2D, has the 2D dungeon crawling, side-scrolling, and then you have the turn-based battles that are in like a 2.5D / 3D-esque point of view. Looking at the screenshots here, it definitely reminds me of that. The art style almost looks the same and everything. I think I'm really going to enjoy this game. Now, one thing here is looking at the screenshots. They do not have their CPU forms. So, like, Neptune doesn't have purple heart, Blonde doesn't have white heart, etc. I'm hoping they keep the CPU aspect of the game because, it's almost like their alter ego, but it's also like they're more powerful forms, and I like the look of the characters in those forms.
Yeah, same here.
And then they have like this poster-like image. It has the 4 CPUs, and then there's 4 characters in the background, and then there's this like big robot-looking character. 5 characters actually. One of them is looking away from everyone else, and I don't recognize any of these characters at all.
Yeah, let me take a look, because I did not pay much attention to the screenshots when I was doing my summary. Come on, you fuck, load. So it was the poster-like one, right?
Yeah, it's the one at the bottom, the biggest image.
Man, I cannot wait for this game to release. Like, it looks so fucking good.
I mean, if it's going to be a reboot, I hope they, there's a good way and a bad way to do reboots.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a reboot. I think it's just going to be like a side story.
Right. I mean, maybe another spin-off type game, but if they're going to somehow use this in a way to reboot the series, hopefully they do it right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
honestly, the battle screens kind of remind me of like old school Final Fantasy, or even actually, let me look at the Valkyrie Profile battle screens. It's been a while since I've played it. I don't think it's the same. No, it's pretty similar to Valkyrie Profile and to Final Fantasy. So like that's kind of interesting to me. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited for it, and I hope that it doesn't end up being a mistake.
So, then they list here the key features of the game. It says you have old school dungeons, explore gorgeously painted interactive dungeons in a style inspired by classic gaming titles. Follow the leader, Enter turn-based battles where the party's attack style changes based on the battle leader. You can switch leaders on the fly, which is pretty much like any RPG. Transform mid-battle and use elemental attacks to maximize your team strategy. So it sounds like the CPU forms will be in the game. You're going to obviously save game industry in time where retro gaming and 3D graphics are at polar ends. The story delves heaviest into the debate for a self-aware ribbing of gaming culture, which is pretty much what the series has been about.
Yeah.
2D comes to life in hand-drawn art, like you mentioned. Series characters drawn by the artist Tsunako, brought back by Artisan Studios to show off the characters in a whole new way. So it's coming to Japan this September, and it's coming to the US and Europe this fall. Normally, with the NEP games, it takes like 6 to 8 months between regional releases. But given that this one was being developed in Canada, maybe that's why they're able to release it so much closer together.
Yeah.
Now, I did put a post out on my Hyperdimension Neptunia fan page on Facebook, and I told the people, so I said to them, I said, now that the news is out about Super Neptunia coming to the Switch, so what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about Nintendo finally getting a Neptunia game? And I got a good handful of comments here. And so we got Joey Callahan says he's worried that now the humor and sexuality in the series will start getting toned down to meet Nintendo's demands. We all know the change made to Tokyo Mirage Sessions. We don't need any of that nonsense muddying up our neps.
The cult of Nep must remain pure.
And then somebody here responded, Alan Masolo. I apologize if I'm reading your names wrong. He says, Galgun 2 turned out fine. Then Hunter Carpenter responds in another reply. He says, if they censor Vert, he's going to be pissed. We have Abdullah Barak Ashimari. I really couldn't care less, because I'm always going to PlayStation for Neppy. Plus, I hate the Switch. It's the worst. But since Neppy is finally going to Nintendo, chances are, if it gets popular there, we might get some fun Neppy games on Nintendo only, like Neptunia Party or Neptunia Kart. That would be cool.
Sweet Jesus, could you imagine Nep Kart?
Oh God,
awesome,
dude! I was hoping for one of those. Maybe we could get a proper fucking game for the Switch where Blonde's the main character, since in the series she represents Nintendo.
She is the Wii.
Sidney Philip Marsh says he's pretty excited, seeing as Sony put the final nail in the Vita's coffin, that's another story we're going to get into this weekend.
Yeah, that makes me sad.
Louis Del Rose says, in perspective of business, more options means more profits. Fans now have an option whether to play on the go or build up their trophies on the PS4. So what do you think about that? Do you think more options means more money?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's people who... Nep has always been on just the PlayStation, right?
And PC as of
the
past couple of years.
People who don't own one of those things, like I never owned a decent gaming PC, for example. Like the Switch is a very popular console, so I think that it definitely rings true for this series, where it's like you'll have a bunch of people who don't own a PlayStation but own a Switch, and they might be more likely to try Brave Neptunia.
Right.
And that might make them more money in the long run, which would be great.
Right. So I have a couple more comments here. David DC Christian says, the style of the game fits the handheld better. So he thinks this game will probably look and feel better on the Switch. Ricky Gonzalez says he thinks that it could lead to not only more Neptunia games on the Switch, but more games not seen before on Nintendo consoles. I think this could be a really good idea. Jed Rajay, I can't even pronounce this guy's name. I'm just going to call you Jed. Jed Crawl. He says it's a good thing. The more games are available on more systems, the better for us players. So
yeah, I agree.
That's what so far the fans are thinking. You know, we have a couple people now are questioning if Neptunia may possibly show up in Smash in any way, which isn't going to happen. I don't think so. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in Super Neptunia RPG, as the game's being called now. I'm interested in the fact that it's on the Switch, though I am going to get it on the PlayStation because fucking trophies. You know? I've gotten the platinum for every Neptunia game I've played so far. Now, I will say I have taken a break. I haven't played a Nep game in almost 2 years. It's because of how many games they released in such a short amount of time at one point that it made me feel like I was kind of burnt out on the series. I still haven't played Super Dimension Neptunia on the Vita yet, and I haven't played Cyber Dimension Neptunia on the PS4 yet. I still have to play those games as well. But I'm definitely looking forward to this one. The art style that we're in with this game is definitely making me feel more inclined to want to play this one more than the other two games that I haven't touched yet. But I'm still a big fan of the series. I am going to eventually play those other two games. And I'm definitely looking forward to this one. So
yeah,
I want to play it. I am going to stream it, you know, when it comes out. I'll definitely do that. But yeah, so that's it for today. 7 articles. We have 12 remaining articles for the rest of the weekend. So, you know, and then there might be stuff to pop up tomorrow and Sunday. I'm going to see Deadpool 2 on Saturday, so whenever you're free tomorrow, we can do the next part, or Sunday, if you're free. With that being said, thanks for watching, guys. Episode 15, part number 1 of the Game Corner podcast. And until part 2, for Cypher, my name is The Rose, and we'll catch your ass down the road.